Admiral stood at the observation deck of the space station. She looked out at the stars with tired eyes. Behind her, the lights of the command center blinked and hummed. It was a quiet night. Most of the crew was sleeping. Only a few officers remained at their posts. Had served in the Human Defense Force for 30 years. She had seen many things in that time. She had watched humanity spread across the stars. She had seen them build colonies on distant worlds. She had witnessed first contact with alien species. Through it all, she had followed the same orders. Stay calm, stay peaceful, never show the full strength of Earth. She often wondered why. The rules seemed strange to her. Humanity had powerful weapons. They had ships that could move faster than any other species knew. They had technology that made other civilizations look primitive. But the leaders of Earth had made a decision long ago. They would hide their power. They would pretend to be weaker than they were. The reason was simple but hard to accept. Humanity was afraid of itself. They remembered their own history. They remembered the wars that had nearly destroyed their world. They knew what they were capable of when they stopped holding back, so they made a choice. They would put chains on themselves. They would be the peaceful ones. They would never be the monsters they once feared becoming. Understood this. She respected it, but sometimes, late at night, she wondered if it was the right choice. A soft alarm pulled her from her thoughts. She turned and walked to the main console. A young officer named looked up at her with worried eyes. "Admiral, we have an incoming transmission," he said. His voice was shaking. "It's from Colony 7. Colony 7 was a small human settlement on the edge of known space. About 50,000 people lived there. Farmers, scientists, families, normal people trying to build a new life among the stars." "Put it through," said. The screen flickered to life. A woman appeared. Her face was covered in blood and dirt. Behind her could see smoke and fire. The sound of explosions filled the air. "This is Governor Me from Colony 7, the woman said. Her voice was calm despite the chaos around her. "We are under attack. Warships came out of nowhere. They hit us without warning. Our defense systems are down. We have no weapons that can stop them." Felt her heart grow cold. How many ships? "At least 20, maybe more." Governor Me paused as another explosion shook her location. "Admiral, they're not taking prisoners. They're destroying everything. Homes, schools, hospitals. They're killing everyone they find." "Hold on," said. "We'll send help." Governor Me shook her head slowly. "It's too late for us, but you need to know something. Before they attacked, they sent a message. They said humanity has been judged and found guilty. They said we are too weak to deserve the planets we hold. They said this is just the beginning." The transmission cut off. Static filled the screen. Stood perfectly still. Her hands were tight at her sides. Around her, the officers stared at their screens in horror. More reports were coming in. Colony 3 was under attack. Colony 12 had gone silent. A human transport ship carrying 2,000 passengers had been destroyed. The Empire was one of the oldest powers in the galaxy. They were tall, thin beings with silver skin and cold eyes. They believed in strength above all else. For centuries, they had watched humanity with contempt. They saw humans as soft and weak, easy prey. They had finally decided to act. Admiral said quietly, "What do we do?" Closed her eyes. She thought about the chains humanity had placed on itself. She thought about the promise to never become monsters. She thought about 50,000 innocent people dying on Colony 7 because the thought humans were too weak to fight back. She opened her eyes. Something had changed in them. A fire that had been sleeping for a very long time had started to wake up. "Contact Earth Command," she said. "Tell them to activate Protocol Crimson." Went pale. "Admiral, are you sure? Protocol Crimson has never been used, it would mean." "I know what it means." His voice was hard as iron. "They want to see what humanity is really capable of. They've been looking at us and seeing only what we wanted them to see, a peaceful species, a gentle people, farmers and scientists and dreamers." She walked to the center of the command room. Every officer was looking at her now. They don't know what we really are. They don't know about the ships we've hidden in asteroid fields. They don't know about the weapons we've buried beneath our moons. They don't know that every human colony has defenses that could destroy a fleet. We've been pretending to be sheep for 300 years. Looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there they were celebrating. They thought they had found easy victims. They thought this war would be quick and simple. Send the message, said. Let them know the sheep have teeth. On Earth, the message arrived at midnight. It reached a building deep beneath the mountains of Korea. This building had no name on any map. It did not officially exist. But inside, a group of people had been waiting for this moment for a very long time. General was an old man with white hair and kind eyes. He had spent his whole life hoping this day would never come. He had prayed that humanity would never need to show its true face to the galaxy. But as he read the reports from the colonies, he knew those prayers had not been answered. He picked up a phone that connected to every human settlement in the galaxy. "This is General," he said. "I am authorizing Protocol Crimson. All restraints are lifted. All hidden assets are to be activated. All weapons are to be brought online." He paused. His old hands were shaking. "For 300 years we have been kind. We have been gentle. We have let other species push us around because we were afraid of what we might become if we pushed back. That time is over. They have killed our people. They have destroyed our homes. They have mistaken our peace for weakness." His voice grew stronger. "Show them their mistake. Show them what humanity kept hidden. Show them why our ancestors conquered their own world before they ever reached the stars. Show them the sleeping giant they have awakened." He ended the call. All across the galaxy, things began to change. On a moon orbiting a gas giant, the ground started to crack. Metal structures rose from beneath the surface. Ships that had been buried for centuries came to life. Their engines glowed with blue fire. In an asteroid field near the galactic core, rocks began to move. They broke apart to reveal weapons platforms the size of cities. Cannons that could crack planets aimed themselves at the stars. On Earth itself, mountains opened. Ships flew out from underground bases that no alien species had ever detected. Each ship was faster, stronger, and more deadly than anything the galaxy had ever seen. They had attacked humanity, expecting to find a civilization of farmers and dreamers. They were about to meet the wolves those farmers had descended from. Ambassador was on a shuttle heading to the Galactic Council when he received the news. He was a small man with glasses and a gentle smile. He had spent 20 years speaking for humanity among the alien species. He had worked hard to build friendships. He had always tried to show humans as peaceful and reasonable. Now he had a different job to do. He looked at the message from Earth Command. It contained a file that had been sealed for 300 years. Inside was the truth about human history, the real truth, not the careful, cleaned-up version they had shared with the galaxy. This file showed everything: the wars, the weapons, the terrible things humanity had done to itself before it finally learned to be better. It also showed what humanity had built in secret while pretending to be weak. Read through the file, his hands trembled. He had known humans were strong. He had not known they were this strong. "What have we been hiding?" he whispered to himself. His assistant, a young woman named, looked at him with concern. "Ambassador, are you all right?" Took off his glasses and cleaned them slowly. "I'm fine. I just realized that I've been telling lies my whole career without even knowing it." He put his glasses back on and straightened his suit. "The council will be in session when we arrive. They are probably celebrating their victory right now. They think they've started a war they can win." Looked out the window at the stars. "I'm about to tell them how wrong they are." The shuttle flew on through the darkness of space. Behind it, the lights of humanity's hidden fleet began to appear. Thousands of ships, millions of weapons, the full power of a species that had conquered death, disease, and its own worst nature. Earth had sent a message to the galaxy. The message was simple. We were restrained. We chose to be gentle. We chose to be kind. We held ourselves back because we feared what we might become. That restraint is over now. You wanted to see what humanity really is. Watch closely. You're about to find out. The Galactic Council met in a station at the center of known space. It was a massive structure shaped like a ring. Thousands of species had representatives there. They came from every corner of the galaxy to discuss trade, peace, and the future of civilization. Today, the council chamber was full. Every seat was taken. Ambassadors from hundreds of worlds sat in rows that rose up like steps around a central platform. The air was thick with tension. News of the attack on human colonies had spread quickly. Ambassador walked into the chamber alone. His footsteps echoed on the metal floor. He was a small figure surrounded by aliens twice his size. Some had scales, some had feathers, some had bodies that human eyes could barely understand. They all looked down at him with different expressions. Some showed pity, some showed contempt, a few showed curiosity. The ambassador stood on the far side of the platform. His name was Lord. He was tall and thin with silver skin that seemed to glow in the light. His eyes were completely black. When he looked his lips curled into a smile. "Ah, the human has arrived," said. His voice was smooth and cold. "I was wondering if your species would even bother to show up after what happened." Walked to the center of the platform. He did not respond to the insult. He simply stood there, his hands folded in front of him, waiting for permission to speak. The council chairman was a being made mostly of light. No one knew what species he truly was. He had served as chairman for longer than most civilizations had existed. "Ambassador of Earth," the chairman said, "you have requested an emergency session. The council will hear you now." Bowed his head slightly. "Thank you, Chairman." He turned to face the assembled ambassadors. Hundreds of alien faces stared back at him. Behind him, a large screen flickered to life. 12 hours ago, the Empire attacked 3 human colonies without warning. 70,000 of my people are dead. Ships carrying civilians were destroyed. Hospitals were bombed. Children were killed in their schools. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Some ambassadors looked shocked. Others looked away in shame. The delegation sat perfectly still, their faces showing nothing. "The claim this attack was justified," continued. "They say humanity is weak. They say we don't deserve the planets we hold. They say it is natural for the strong to take from the weak." Lord stood up. "Everything I said is true. Humans have been in space for only a few centuries. You have contributed nothing of value to the galaxy. Your technology is primitive. Your military is laughable. You are wasting resources that stronger species could use better." He spread his arms wide. "The Empire has existed for 10,000 years. We have conquered 100 worlds. We have power that humans cannot even imagine. This is the natural order of things. The strong rule, the weak serve or die." Many ambassadors nodded at his words. The galaxy respected strength above all else. It was simply how things worked. Waited until finished, then he smiled. It was a strange smile, gentle but sad, like a teacher about to give a difficult lesson. "I understand," said. "You believe humans are weak. You believe we have nothing to offer. You believe we are prey." He paused. "You are wrong." Laughed. "Wrong, human, I have seen your fleet. Your ships are slow and poorly armed. Your weapons are centuries behind ours. What could you possibly have that would change anything?" Touched a control on his wrist. The screen behind him changed. 300 years ago, when humanity first left Earth, our leaders made a decision. They looked at the galaxy and saw what it was. A place where species fought and killed each other for power. A place where the strong destroyed the weak without mercy. Images appeared on the screen, old pictures of Earth, cities in ruins, mushroom clouds rising over burning lands. Our leaders remembered what we were before we reached the stars. We were violent. We were cruel. We fought wars that killed hundreds of millions. We created weapons that could destroy our entire planet. We were, in many ways, monsters. The chamber grew quiet. Aliens stared at the images of destruction with wide eyes. But we changed, said. We looked at ourselves and decided to be better. We chose peace over war. We chose cooperation over conquest. We reached for the stars not to dominate but to explore and learn. He turned to face directly. And we made a choice that day. We decided to hide our true strength. We decided to put chains on ourselves. We showed the galaxy only what we wanted them to see: peaceful humans, gentle humans, weak humans. His voice grew harder. We did this because we were afraid, not of you or any other species. We were afraid of ourselves, afraid that if we showed our true power, we would become the monsters we used to be. Lord's smile had faded. Something in his eyes was making him uncomfortable. For 300 years, we have played a role. We have let other species insult us. We have let them push us around. We have pretended to be less than we are because we believed peace was worth any price. Pressed another control. New images appeared on the screen. Ships, massive ships hidden inside asteroids, weapons platforms buried beneath moons, fleets that had been sleeping for centuries in the darkness between stars. The chamber erupted in chaos. Ambassadors jumped to their feet. Voices shouted in 100 languages. The delegation stared at the screen with horror in their eyes. "What is this?" demanded. "This is impossible. Our intelligence services have monitored humans for years. We never detected anything like this." Nodded. That was the point. We wanted you to see farmers and scientists. We wanted you to see a species that could barely defend itself. We wanted you to think attacking us would be easy. He stepped closer too. Though the alien was twice his height, it was who took a step back. You wanted to see the real humanity. Here we are. Those hidden ships are now active. Those sleeping weapons are now online. The chains we put on ourselves have been removed. His gentle smile was gone. In its place was something much older, something that remembered thousands of years of war and survival. "Do you know why the ancient Earth species feared the night, Lord? It wasn't because of the darkness. It was because of what hunted in the darkness. Predators with sharp teeth and clever minds. Creatures that would never stop chasing once they started." He pointed at the screen. Humans evolved from those predators. We are their children. We learned to build tools and cities and starships, but we never forgot what we were. Every human alive carries the instincts of a hunter in their blood. The chamber was completely silent now. Even the council chairman had nothing to say. "You killed 70,000 of our people," said. "Farmers, scientists, children. You thought you were hunting sheep. You thought this would be easy." He turned to address the entire council. "I want everyone here to understand something. Humanity does not want war. We have spent 300 years trying to avoid it, but they have forced our hand. They attacked without warning. They killed without mercy. They showed us exactly what kind of people they are." Straightened his suit and adjusted his glasses. "So here is what is going to happen. The human fleet is moving now. We will respond to this attack. We will defend our colonies. And we will make sure the Empire understands that attacking humanity was the worst mistake they have ever made." Lord found his voice at last. "You can't do this. The Council will stop you. This is an act of aggression." The Council chairman spoke. "The Empire attacked first. Under Council law, humanity has the right to defend itself." "But the scale of their response," protested. "Those ships, those weapons, they've been hiding military power for centuries. That's against Council rules." "There is no rule against building defenses," the chairman said. "There is no rule against choosing not to use them. Humanity broke no laws. They simply chose to be peaceful when they did not have to be. The chairman's light flickered. You, on the other hand, attacked civilian targets without declaration of war. You murdered innocents. You violated every treaty we have. Silverface turned pale. The Empire will not accept this. We will fight. Nodded slowly. Yes, you will, but before your fleets engage ours, I want you to know something. He touched his wrist control one more time. A final image appeared on the screen. It was a ship, but not just any ship. It was the largest vessel anyone in the chamber had ever seen, miles long, bristling with weapons, a flying fortress that could face a fleet alone and win. That is the Earth defense ship Sleeping Giant, said. It has been hidden in the core of a dead star for 200 years. It is now on its way to space. Stared at the image. His hands were shaking. We have 47 ships like that, said quietly. All of them are now active. All of them are ready. He turned and walked toward the exit. Humanity did not want this war, but since you have given it to us, we will end it. We will end it completely. And when it's over, the galaxy will know something important. Stopped at the door and looked back. Never mistake kindness for weakness. Never mistake peace for inability to fight. Never mistake restraint for fear. He walked out of the chamber. Behind him, the ambassadors sat in stunned silence. The delegation was already sending frantic messages to there. But it was too late for warnings. The sleeping giant had awakened. And it was angry. On Earth, General watched the broadcast of speech. He sat in his command center deep beneath the mountains, surrounded by screens showing fleets and weapons and things humanity had kept secret for 300 years. His old hands were steady now. The shaking had stopped. He had made his choice and he would see it through. A young officer approached him. General, the fleet is in position. Admiral reports all ships ready. She's asking for orders. Looked at the screens. Thousands of ships waited in the darkness of space, each one crewed by humans who had trained for this moment their entire lives, each one carrying weapons that could burn worlds. Tell Admiral to begin Operation Waking Thunder, said. They wanted to see what humanity really is. Let's show them. The officer saluted and hurried away. Turned back to the screens. Somewhere out there they were preparing their defenses. They thought they knew what was coming. They had no idea. Humanity had been gentle for 300 years. They had chosen peace over war. They had hidden their true nature behind smiles and soft words. That time was over now. The wolves were done pretending to be sheep. And the hunt was about to begin. The moon called Titan Base had been silent for 250 years. It floated in orbit around a gas giant at the edge of human space. From the outside, it looked like any other moon. Gray rock and ancient craters. Nothing special, nothing interesting. The scouts had passed by it 100 times during their surveillance of humanity. They had scanned it briefly and moved on. Just another dead rock in space. They were very wrong. General stood in the central command chamber of Earth Defense Headquarters. Around him, officers worked at their stations with quiet intensity. Screens covered every wall, showing images from across the galaxy. Titan Base is coming online, a technician reported. Power systems at 70% and rising. Watched the main screen. On it, the surface of the moon was beginning to change. Cracks appeared in the gray rock. Light spilled out from deep within. Then slowly, the entire top of the moon began to open. It was not a moon at all. It was a shell, a disguise wrapped around something much more dangerous. Massive doors pulled back to reveal what lay inside. A shipyard, the largest shipyard in human history. Rows of warships stretched as far as cameras could see. They had been built in secret over centuries. Crews had lived and died inside that hidden base, working on ships they knew might never be used. Now those ships were waking up. Titan Base is launching the first fleet, the technician said. 140 warships, all systems operational. Nodded, good, move to the next phase. Similar scenes were playing out across the galaxy. Hidden bases on asteroids were opening their doors. Ships buried beneath the ice of frozen worlds were breaking free. Weapons platforms that had floated disguised as space debris for centuries were powering up their targeting systems. The galaxy had thought humanity was weak. They were about to learn how very wrong they were. On the bridge of the command ship Unity, Admiral watched her fleet take formation. Through the massive windows, she could see ships stretching into the distance. Each one was a masterpiece of human engineering, fast, strong, and deadly. Her first officer, Commander Jun, stood beside her. He was a young man with serious eyes and steady hands. He had never seen real combat. None of them had. Humanity had avoided war for 300 years. But they had trained. They had practiced. They had prepared for this day even while hopping it would never come. Admiral, all ships report ready, Jun said. The fleet is at full combat capability. Looked at the tactical display. Red dots marked the position of forces. They had gathered near the border of human space, preparing for their next attack. They had no idea what was coming for them. Send word to the other fleet commanders, said. We move in 1 hour. All forces will advance according to plan. Jun hesitated. Admiral, may I speak freely? Always. Some of the crew are nervous. Most of them have never fired a weapon in anger. They know what our ships can do, but theory and reality are different things. Turn to face him. What do you want me to tell them, Commander? Jun thought for a moment. Tell them why we fight, not just that we were attacked, but why it matters. Help them understand what they're defending. Nodded slowly. She walked to the communication console and pressed a button. Her voice would now reach every ship in the fleet. This is Admiral. In 1 hour, we will engage the enemy. I know many of you are scared. I know this is not what any of us wanted. We joined the defense force hoping we would never have to fight. We trained for war while praying for peace. She paused, gathering her thoughts. But peace has been taken from us. They killed 70,000 of our people, farmers who wanted only to grow food, scientists who wanted only to learn, children who wanted only to grow up and see the stars. Her voice hardened. They thought we were weak. They thought we would roll over and die. They thought humanity was nothing but prey waiting to be hunted. They were wrong, dead wrong. Across the fleet, crews stopped what they were doing to listen. In engine rooms and weapons bays, in medical centers and pilot-ready rooms, humans stood still and heard their admiral's words. We are not weak. We have never been weak. We chose to be gentle because we remembered what happens when humans fight without restraint. We chose peace because we knew the cost of war better than any other species. Looked out at the stars. But now peace is no longer an option. They have made their choice. They decided to kill our families. They decided to burn our homes. They decided that humanity deserves to be destroyed. Her voice dropped to something quiet and dangerous. So now we will show them what humanity really is. Not the peaceful farmers they saw, not the gentle scientists they mocked. We will show them the warriors who conquered Earth, the survivors who lived through ice ages and famines and wars that killed billions, the hunters who never gave up, never surrendered, never stopped fighting no matter how dark things got. She gripped the console. Today we fight. Today we show the galaxy that attacking humanity was the worst mistake they ever made. And when this is over, no species will ever look at humans and see prey again. She released the button. Silence hung in the air for a moment. Then across the fleet, voices rose in response. Crews cheered, pilots shouted, engineers pounded on walls and consoles. Commander Jun looked at his admiral with new respect. That should help with the nerves. Almost smiled. Get the fleet ready, we have work to do. In the asteroid belt near space, Another hidden base was coming to life. This one had a different purpose. It was not a shipyard. It was something far more dangerous. Lieutenant Bora walked through the corridors of Station Zero. She was young, barely 25, but she had trained for 10 years for this job. Her specialty was something most humans preferred not to think about. She was a weapons specialist, not the kind who fired guns or flew fighters. She worked with weapons on a much larger scale. The door to the main chamber opened. Inside was a single object, a sphere about 10 meters across floating in a containment field. It looked almost beautiful, smooth and silver, glowing with soft light. It was called a stellar converter, and it could destroy a star. Bora checked the systems carefully. Everything was working perfectly. The weapon had been built 200 years ago and kept in storage ever since. No one had ever wanted to use it. No one had ever thought they would need to. Station Zero to Earth Command, she said into her communicator. Stellar Converter is online and ready, awaiting authorization. General's voice came through the speaker. Understood, Station Zero. Keep the weapon on standby. We will only use it if absolutely necessary. Bora nodded even though no one could see her. Yes, sir. May I ask a question? Go ahead. Do you really think we'll need this? The fleet should be enough to stop the... There was a long pause before answered. I hope we never need it, Lieutenant. I really do. But they are proud. They might decide to fight even when they know they can't win. They might try to take as many humans with them as possible. His voice grew heavy. If that happens, we need to be able to end the war quickly, before millions more die on both sides. The stellar converter gives us that option. Bora looked at the glowing sphere. Such a small thing to hold such terrible power. I understand, sir. Station Zero will be ready. Thank you, Lieutenant. Let's hope you stay bored up there. The communication ended. Bora stood alone in the chamber, watching the weapon float peacefully in its containment field. Humanity had built this thing. Her people, her species. They had created something that could kill a star because they wanted to make sure they would never be threatened again. It was terrifying, but it was also, in a strange way, comforting. The galaxy was full of dangers, species that would kill and conquer without mercy. At least humanity could fight back. At least they would not go quietly into extinction. She sat down at her station and began her watch. Back on the Unity, Admiral received a new report. Her eyes widened as she read it. Commander Jun, come look at this. Jun walked over and studied the screen. His face went pale. They are mobilizing their entire fleet, everything they have, 3,000 warships heading for the border. Nodded, they know we're coming. They're preparing their defense. 3,000 ships against our 700. Those are bad odds. Shook her head. No, Commander, those are their odds, and they don't even know how bad their odds really are. She pulled up a technical comparison on the screen. Ships versus human ships. Speed, armor, weapons, shields. In every category, human technology was superior. Not by a little, by a lot. Our ships are 5 times faster. Our weapons hit 10 times harder. Our shields can take punishment that would destroy a cruiser in seconds. Smiled grimly. 3,000 of their ships against 700 of ours. They would need 30,000 to make it a fair fight. Jun stared at the numbers. How is this possible? We've been pretending to be weaker than them for centuries. Because we wanted to be peaceful, not because we couldn't be strong. Our scientists never stopped working. Our engineers never stopped building. We just kept it all hidden, waiting for a day we hoped would never come. Stood and faced her crew. The day is here. The waiting is over. In 30 minutes we engage the enemy. Every ship, every weapon, every human in this fleet will do their duty. She raised her hand. For the colonies, for the 70,000 dead, for humanity. The bridge crew responded as one, for humanity. Across the fleet, thousands of voices joined them. The Unity's engines roared to life. The fleet began to move, a wave of silver ships heading toward the border. The giants of Earth were awake. And they were going to war. They had no idea what was about to hit them. They had seen human ships before. Slow, poorly armed vessels that posed no threat. They expected more of the same. They were about to discover that everything they knew about humanity was a lie. The sleeping giants had opened their eyes. The chains had been broken. And now the galaxy would learn what humanity had been hiding all along. Commander sat in the cockpit of her fighter. Around her, 300 other pilots waited in their ships. They floated in the launch bay of the carrier Phoenix, engines warm and weapons loaded. Was 30 years old. She had dark hair cut short and calm brown eyes. She had been flying since she was 16 and had become one of the best pilots in the fleet, but she had never flown in actual combat. None of them had. That was about to change. "All pilots, this is Phoenix Control," a voice said in her earpiece. "Enemy fleet detected. 3,200 warships in defensive formation. We are approaching engagement range." Took a deep breath. This was it, the moment she had trained for her entire adult life. "Phoenix Fighter Wing, this is Commander. Check your systems. Make sure everything is green. When those bay doors open, we move fast and we move together." Voices responded one by one, all systems operational, all pilots ready. Through the carrier's external cameras, could see the human fleet spreading out into attack formation. 700 warships against 3,000. It should have been impossible odds, but she had seen the simulations. She knew what human technology could do. "Engagement in 2 minutes, Control announced." Thought about her family back on Earth. Her mother, who taught music at a school inn. Her father, who grew flowers and sold them at the local market. They had no idea what their daughter was about to do. They thought she worked on a peaceful patrol ship, watching for asteroids that might threaten colonies. She had never been allowed to tell them the truth. Engagement in 1 minute. The carrier's bay doors began to open. Stars appeared through the gap, and beyond the stars could see the fleet. Thousands of ships arranged in a wall of metal and weapons. They looked enormous and terrifying. But they were not as terrifying as what the humans had brought to this fight. "All ships fire," Admiral's voice commanded across the fleet. The human warships opened fire. Beams of energy crossed the darkness between the two fleets. Each beam was brighter than a sun. Each beam cut through shields like they were made of paper. The first volley destroyed 400 ships instantly. Watched through her cockpit window as the enemy fleet erupted in explosions. Ships that had taken years to build were reduced to scrap metal in seconds. The formation fell apart as captains panicked and tried to regroup. "Phoenix Fighter Wing launch," Control ordered. Pushed her throttle forward. Her fighter shot out of the bay like a bullet. 300 pilots followed her into the chaos of battle. The space around them was filled with fire and debris. Ships were dying everywhere. Human weapons carved through their hulls. Human missiles found weak points in their armor. Human ships moved so fast that targeting systems could not keep up. Dove toward a group of enemy fighters. There were 50 of them, trying to form a defensive screen around a damaged cruiser. She activated her targeting computer. "Fox Wing, follow me in. We clear these fighters, then hit the cruiser." Her squadron acknowledged. 20 fighters followed her into the enemy formation. The fighters were good. Their pilots were well trained and their ships were quick, but they had never faced human technology. Their weapons splashed harmlessly against shields. Her own guns tore through their armor like it was nothing. She destroyed 3 fighters in 10 seconds. Around her, her squadron did the same. The 50 fighters became 20, then 10, then none. The cruiser tried to run. Its engines flared as it turned away from the battle, lined up her shot. "Sorry," she whispered. "You shouldn't have attacked our colonies." She fired. The missile hit the cruiser's reactor. The ship exploded in a ball of white fire. Across the battlefield, the same scene played out 1,000 times. Human ships hunted vessels like wolves hunting deer. The enemy fleet that had seemed so impressive was falling apart. On the bridge of the flagship, High Admiral watched the disaster unfold. His silver face was pale with shock. His officers ran back and forth, shouting reports that grew worse by the minute. "We've lost 800 ships," his aide reported. "Our weapons can't penetrate their shields. Our shields can't stop their weapons. High Admiral, we need to retreat." Shook his head. "Retreat? The Empire does not retreat. We are the strongest power in the galaxy." "We were wrong." The aide's voice cracked with fear. "The humans lied to us. They hid their true strength. We can't win this fight." Grabbed the aide by the throat. "Never say that again. The do not lose. We have conquered 100 worlds. We will not be defeated by these primitives." He threw the aide aside and turned to his tactical officer. "Order all ships to concentrate fire on their lead vessel. Destroy their admiral and the rest will fall." The tactical officer hesitated. "High Admiral, our ships can't get close enough. The humans are too fast. We lose 10 ships for every kilometer we advance." "Then send 100 ships. Send 500, whatever it takes." Orders went out across what remained of the fleet. Ships that had been trying to defend themselves now turned toward the Unity. They charged forward in a desperate attack, trying to reach the human command ship. Admiral saw them coming. "They're making a push for us," Commander Jun reported. 500 ships on approach." Study the tactical display. "Brave but stupid. Order the second and third to intercept. Don't let any of them through." Human ships moved to block the charge. The battle grew more intense. Energy beams crossed in every direction. Missiles filled the void between the fleets. Ships exploded on both sides. But for every human ship that fell, 30 ships died. The numbers told the story. This was not a battle, it was a massacre. In her fighter, Commander saw a gap in the formation. Beyond it, she could see their flagship, the biggest ship in their fleet, covered in weapons and armor. If they destroyed it, the battle might end faster. "All fighters, this is. I see an opening to their command ship. Who's with me?" Pilots responded from across the battlefield. Within minutes, 100 fighters had formed up behind her. "We go in fast and hit them hard. Target their engines first, then their weapons. If we can cripple that ship, their fleet loses coordination." She pushed her throttle to maximum. Her fighter screamed across the battlefield, dodging debris and enemy fire. The other pilots followed in her wake. The flagship saw them coming. Point defense guns opened fire, filling space with a storm of energy. Fighters started to fall. 10, 20, 30 pilots dead in seconds. But the rest kept coming. Twisted her fighter through the defensive fire. Her hands moved automatically, years of training taking over. Shots passed within meters of her ship. One grazed her wing, leaving a black scar across the metal. She didn't stop. The flagship grew larger in her window. She could see individual weapons mounted on its hull. She could see the bridge, a raised structure near the top of the ship. Fox Wing target the engines. Dragon Wing take out the weapons. Everyone else cover us. Her squadron split apart. Missiles launched from dozens of fighters. They spiraled toward the flagship, tracking their targets with cold precision. The first wave of missiles hit the engines. Explosions ripped through the rear of the ship. The flagship shuddered and began to slow. The second wave hit the weapons. Guns that had been firing continuously went silent. Ammunition stores exploded, tearing holes in the ship's armor. High Admiral was thrown across his bridge as the ship shook. Alarms screamed. Smoke filled the air. Officers lay dead or wounded at their stations. "Report," he demanded, pulling himself up. "Engines at 20%, someone answered. "Primary weapons offline. Hull breaches on 12 decks." looked at the main screen. Human fighters swarmed around his flagship like insects. More human warships were approaching, their weapons glowing with deadly light. He finally understood. The humans had not been weak. They had never been weak. They had simply chosen not to fight, and now that they were fighting, they could not stop them. "Open a channel to the human fleet," he said quietly. His officers stared at him. "High Admiral." "Do it." The channel opened, looked into the screen and saw a human face, a woman with gray hair and hard eyes. "Admiral." Human Admiral said, "I am High Admiral of the Empire." "I know who you are," replied. "Your fleet is destroyed, your flagship is crippled. What do you want?" Forced himself to stand straight. Even in defeat, he would maintain his dignity. "I want to know why. Why did you hide your strength? Why did you let us think you were weak?" Was silent for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was tired. "Because we were afraid of what we might become. We remembered our history. We remembered the wars that nearly destroyed our world. We chose to be peaceful because we thought that was better than being strong. But now you have shown us that peace is not always an option. Sometimes you have to fight. Sometimes you have to show the universe what you really are." She leaned forward. "We will accept your surrender, High Admiral. Your ships will power down their weapons. Your crews will prepare to be boarded. The war ends now." Closed his eyes. His empire had stood for 10,000 years. It had conquered 100 worlds. It had never lost a war. Until today. "I accept your terms," he said. "The fleet will stand down." Across the battlefield, ships stopped firing. Their weapons went dark. Their engines cooled. Thousands of ships floated in silence, waiting for the humans to come. Commander watched from her fighter as the battle ended. Debris drifted everywhere. The remains of destroyed ships, bodies floating in the void. The cost of war displayed in terrible detail. She felt no joy, only relief that it was over and sadness for everyone who had died. "This is Admiral to all ships," the comm channel crackled. "They have surrendered. The battle is won. All units stand down and prepare for recovery operations." Turned her fighter back toward the Phoenix. Her hands were shaking now that the adrenaline was fatting. She had survived. Somehow, against all odds, she had survived. Behind her, the human fleet began the work of victory. Medical ships moved to help the wounded. Transports prepared to take prisoners. Engineers started the long job of repairing damaged vessels. The galaxy had watched this battle. Every species with the technology to detect it had seen what happened. They had seen the fleet destroyed in hours. They had seen human technology tear through the strongest military in known space. And they had learned something important. Humanity was not weak. Humanity had never been weak. They had simply chosen to be gentle. That choice had ended. The sleeping giant was awake. And the galaxy would never forget this day. Captain Jin stood on the observation deck of the battleship Morning Star. Through the massive windows, he could see the below. A beautiful planet of blue oceans and green continents. Millions of people lived there. Families, children, ordinary beings who had nothing to do with the war their leaders had started. The human fleet hung in orbit above them. 700 warships, now reduced to 620 after the battle. Each ship could destroy a city with a single shot. Together, they could burn the entire planet to ash. Jin was 45 years old. He had served in the fleet for 20 years, rising through the ranks with skill and dedication. He had commanded patrol ships, escort vessels, and finally this battleship. Through it all, he had believed in humanity's peaceful nature. Now he stood above an enemy world, holding the power of life and death in his hands. His orders were clear. He was to deliver Earth's message to the people, the final message of this short, terrible war. "Communications officer, open a channel," Jin said. "Broadcast to the entire planet, all frequencies." "Channel open, Captain." Jin stepped forward. His image would now appear on every screen on Prime. Every home, every office, every public display would show his face. "People of the Empire," he began. "My name is Captain Jin of the Human Defense Force. I speak to you on behalf of Earth and all human colonies." He paused, letting his words sink in. 3 days ago, your military attacked our people without warning. 70,000 humans died. Colonies were destroyed. Ships carrying civilians were shot down without mercy. Your leaders called us weak. They said we did not deserve the worlds we had built. Jin's voice remained calm, even as he spoke of such terrible things. They were wrong. They attacked us expecting to find prey. They found something else. You have all seen the reports by now. Your fleet was destroyed in less than 4 hours. 3,000 ships reduced to wreckage. Your High Admiral surrendered on the battlefield. Across Prime, people watched in silence. Fear filled their hearts. They expected destruction. They expected revenge. Humanity had every right to burn their world to cinders. But Jin did not speak of revenge. "We stand above you now. Our weapons are locked on your cities. We could destroy everything in minutes. No force in the galaxy could stop us." He took a breath. "But we will not do that." The listening felt confusion mixed with their fear. This was not what they expected. This was not how war worked. The winner destroyed the loser. That was the natural order. "Humanity does not want revenge," Jin continued. "We do not want to kill innocent people for the crimes of their leaders. We remember our own history. We remember what it feels like to suffer under rulers who make terrible decisions." He looked directly into the camera. "Here is what will happen. The military will be reduced to a defensive force. You will keep enough ships to protect your worlds, but no more. Your leaders who ordered the attack on our colonies will face trial for their crimes. Reparations will be paid to the families of those who died." Jin's voice softened. "In return, humanity will not occupy your worlds. We will not enslave your people. We will not burn your cities or salt your fields. When the terms are met, we will leave. Your empire will survive. Your people will live." He stepped back. "We chose this path because we believe in something your leaders forgot. Strength does not come from how many you can kill. It comes from knowing when not to kill. Power is not proven by destruction. It is proven by mercy when mercy is not expected." Jin straightened his uniform. "The galaxy is watching this moment. They are waiting to see what humanity will do with victory. We choose to show them who we really are. Not monsters, not conquerors. We are people who believe that even after war, peace is possible. Even after pain, healing can begin." He took one last look at the planet below. "This is the message of humanity. We were restrained by choice, not weakness. We fought because we had to, not because we wanted to. And now that the fighting is done, we will return to being what we always tried to be: a peaceful species, a good neighbor, a friend to those who want friendship." His eyes hardened slightly. "But let the galaxy also remember this. We will not be attacked again. We will not let our people die while we pretend to be harmless. The restraints are off. The weapons are ready. Anyone who threatens humanity will face the full power of our species." Jin nodded once. "That is all," Captain Jin signing off. The transmission ended. On Prime, millions of beings stared at blank screens. They had expected death. Instead, they received mercy. It was more terrifying in some ways than the alternative. In the council chamber at the center of the galaxy, ambassadors gathered to discuss what had happened. The room was quieter than usual. Many faces showed shock or fear. A few showed something like respect. Ambassador stood at the central platform again. This time, no one looked at him with contempt. The seats were empty. Their ambassador was under arrest, awaiting trial for war crimes. "The conflict with thee is over," announced. "Earth has accepted their surrender. Terms are being negotiated. Within 6 months, our fleets will withdraw from space." The council chairman spoke. Ambassador, many species wish to know Earth's intentions going forward. Humanity has revealed military capabilities that exceed anything in the known galaxy. What will you do with this power? Adjusted his glasses. The same thing we did before. We will try to be good neighbors. We will trade fairly. We will help where we can. We will not use our strength to bully or conquer. But the restraints you spoke of, another ambassador said, you said they were removed. The restraints were a promise we made to ourselves, explained. A promise to hold back, to be gentle, to never become the monsters we once feared. We broke that promise because they gave us no choice. He looked around the chamber. Now we make a new promise. We will not hide our strength anymore. The galaxy will know what humanity can do, but we will also not use that strength carelessly. Our weapons will defend, not conquer. Our ships will protect, not destroy. Smiled slightly. Think of us as the guard dog of the neighborhood. We don't want to bite anyone. We would rather sleep in the sun and play with the children. But if someone tries to hurt our family, they will find out very quickly that we have teeth. Some ambassadors nodded. Others still looked worried, but no one argued. They had all seen what happened to the fleet. No one wanted to be next. Back on Earth, General stood in a garden outside his mountain headquarters. Cherry blossoms fell around him like pink snow. He was tired. The last few days had aged him more than years of normal service. Admiral walked up to stand beside him. She looked tired too. Dark circles under her eyes, lines on her face that had not been there a week ago. It's over, she said. This part is over, replied. They are beaten, but the galaxy is watching us now. Everyone knows what we can do. That changes everything. Nodded. Some will fear us. Some will want to be our friends. Some will start building weapons trying to match what we have. And a few will decide that if they couldn't beat us, they need to form alliances, group together against the new threat, sighed. We may have prevented one war only to make future wars more likely. That's a problem for tomorrow. Watched a blossom drift past her face. Today, I just want to remember why we fight, not for power or glory, for the people back on the colonies, for the farmers and scientists who just wanted to live their lives. Smiled sadly. My granddaughter lives on Colony 12. When they attacked, I thought I might never see her again. Every decision I made thinking of her face. That's why we won, said. They fought for conquest, we fought for family. That makes a difference. They stood together in silence as the blossoms fell. On a small ship heading back to Earth, Commander looked at a photo on her display. Her parents, smiling outside their home inn. They still didn't know what she really did. They still thought she was on a peaceful patrol ship. Maybe someday she would tell them. Maybe someday the secrets wouldn't be necessary anymore. But for now, she was just glad to be going home. In his office at the Galactic Council, Ambassador wrote his report for Earth Command. He summarized the reactions of the other species. The fear, the respect, the uncertainty about what would happen next. At the end, he added a personal note. We have shown the galaxy who we really are. Now comes the hard part, living up to the promise we made, proving that we can be both strong and good. That is the challenge of the years ahead. I believe we can do it. I have to believe that. Because if we can't, then everything we fought for was for nothing. He signed the report and sent it. The stars shone outside his window. Millions of worlds, billions of beings. All of them now knew the truth about humanity. We were restrained. We chose peace when we could have chosen war. We held back our power because we feared what we might become. That restraint ended when innocence died. That peace broke when our colonies burned. But even in victory, we showed mercy. Even in triumph, we remembered who we wanted to be. The galaxy called us the sleeping storm. The ancient ones called us dangerous. Our enemies learned why. But our friends will learn something else. We are more than warriors, more than weapons, more than the terrible things we can do. We are humanity, and we are trying every day to be better than we were. The ships returned home, the fleet stood down, the weapons went back to sleep. But they would never be hidden again. And the galaxy would never forget what happened when someone finally woke the sleeping giant.